Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Was Abused and Abandons Konoha to Train, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Shikamaru ran and found Guy sucking wind on the floor. The whirlpool defense no Justu had stopped as soon as Zabuza's. As soon as Guy recovered, the two ninjas quickly picked up their fallen comrades and brought them back to where Naruto lay. Unfortunately, neither of the conscious ninja knew any medical jutsu, so they made a camp and waited for Kurenai to wake up. Guy was very frustrated with how useless he felt. I have to help Naruto, but how? Kurenai would know what to do. Guy thought, anxiously awaiting the other to awake. In the meantime, Naruto lay on the floor shaking in pain. Every now and then Naruto would seem to stop before starting a more violent seizure than the last. Shikamaru and Guy decided it would be better not to touch him, even though both wanted to put him in a bed. Shikamaru's expression was furrowed, yet he did not speak or question his leader, knowing fully that Guy did not know anything more than him. Come on Naruto, what's wrong with you? 3 hours later. Neji and Tenten were awake and had made a fire. Both were quiet and were waiting for Hinata and Kurenai to recover. Lee too had awoken, but since he had only been asleep, no one really bothered with him. The camp was silent for close to an hour before Tenten spoke up. Damn it, Guy-sensei, we should go back to Konoha and request additional units and get medical assistance for Lee and Naruto. Guy's face contorted. He agreed, but it was out of the question. Neji spoke to answer the question. We aren't being paid for more than AD rank mission. Also, we can't afford to waste time. If the Chunin exam was delayed, it would be very embarrassing and would hurt the pride of Konoha. Tenten looked at Neji. Her eyes grew opened as much as they could. Neji, do you even care about your teammates? Of course, but you know better than me that Naruto and especially Lee want us to keep going. Everyone's attention turned to Kurenai, who had just emerged from her tent. Sorry I got knocked out, guys. I hope everyone else is alright. She asked, smiling at the ninja in front of her. The genin looked down. Naruto is in terrible condition and you are the only one with any medical knowledge here. Do you think you could see what you could do? Shikamaru asked. Kurenai was already in the tent Guy had put up around Naruto. I need Hinata now, she shouted in anger. How could they not have done anything for him? Naruto was sweating fiercely but was only shivering. I'm sorry Kurenai-sensei, but Hinata is still unconscious. Tenten responded quickly. Where is she? Well, she was actually in your tent. Oh. Finally she came to realization that this wasn't the time to get embarrassed. Wake her up now. Why? Just do it, Kurenai said, raising her voice. Tenten looked in wonder and suspicion at her female leader. Now. Kurenai screamed, seeing Naruto beginning to shake faster and more powerfully. Tenten ran over to Hinata's tent. Pushing open the tent sleeves, she found Hinata sitting up, rubbing her eyes. Hinata, I'm glad to see you're up. You're needed by Kurenai-sensei. Oh. Thank you Tenten-san. Hinata mumbled, slowly getting up. Hinata quickly walked outside only to see Shikamaru and Neji. Guy having gone to check on Lee, Shikamaru nodded his head toward the tent Kurenai was in. Hinata nodded and walked swiftly into the tent, and to her horror see Naruto flailing and whimpering in pain. Kurenai looked sternly at her student. Please, lend me your skills, Hinata. Hinata could only nod, seeing Kurenai's sadness. This is my first genin team's first mission. I can't let Naruto. Hinata concentrated and doing the signs opened her Byakugan. But the moment the veins could be seen distinctively on her head, she let out a soft scream. What is it, Hinata? Kurenai asked urgently. Naruto's chakra is eating him. What? To be honest, I'm not really sure what's happening, but it seems to be slowly stopping. Kurenai sighed in relief. So, just how long will it take for Naruto to recover? She carefully questioned. At this rate he'll be up by tomorrow, but we will only be able to go at a civilian pace. Hinata said quietly. Hinata, please bring Guy in here now. Kurenai told her student. Hinata left, and a minute later Guy sprinted in the tent, creating a gust of wind that knocked over all the papers Kurenai had only just finished, neatly organizing. Kurenai just fought to control her temper and took deep breaths. Finally regaining her composure, she bent down and along with Guy began picking up the papers. Guy looked flustered and very serious, but she disregarded the man. Guy, I have been looking over our situation and have decided the best course of action would be for you to go get the list of ninjas for the Chunin exam or see if there are any coming from the land of water. Well, I don't think your decision included the young rogue ninja you fought being alive. What are you talking about? How could he be alive? Why didn't you kill him? I thought I did, but the gender-confused girl has a very strong will to live. Guy said, admiration in his voice. That changes everything. We were originally going to sail to Cloud Country, but now it seems we should head back to Konoha. What do you think, Guy? Kurenai asked impatiently as he thought for a moment. Even though we will lose 2 days' time going back, it is our best option. But I say we let the power of youth decide. The ninja is in a coma but is breathing and the heartbeats are becoming stronger as well. Kurenai raised an eye at him. Are you serious? We will give them more leadership opportunities in the future, but right now we're supposed to teach them how to analyze situations, and they would just choose to continue on. Maybe that's what we should do. Guy replied, staying serious. Not with a dangerous criminal like him with us. How about this, you go bring Haku back to Konoha and then catch back up. Guy did his good guy pose and tried to ignore the fact going back meant telling the Hokage he has taken Genin on what was now an A-class mission for their first mission. Well, I'll just get the list first, then after I'll deliver the oppressor of youth to the jail cells of Konoha. I'll meet you in Cloud Country. Oh, and keep an eye on that ninja. Guy then disappeared to accomplish his task. Next morning, Naruto awoke and bolted upright. But as soon as he was sitting up, he felt a pain into his body and caused him to fall back down. Slowly he shifted to his side to see Hinata asleep on the ground. Hinata, he said in a curious voice. What are you doing here? He smiled, her face seemed so peaceful and content. Not like the usual look of fear and nervousness. She's like a completely different person asleep. Better not wake her up. Hinata did not stir but did mumble something incoherent. Suddenly Naruto's nose picked up the scent of food, but he was still too weak to distinguish what food was producing the smell. Naruto, a few seconds after smelling the aroma, began to shake with hunger. Not wanting to wake Hinata, he crawled out from under the blanket covering him and followed the scent, collapsing once or twice as he exited the tent. The stars still shone in the sky as dawn had not yet arrived. Naruto reckoned it was around 5 a.m. He stopped a second to take in the feeling he had. A beautiful, pinkish, stream of color was beginning to streak its way across the sky, and a cool breeze rustled the blonde's hair gently. As gently as Ryoku did sometimes when he thought the blonde boy was asleep. It was the temperature that was perfect for a long-sleeve shirt and pants, so you could run around without feeling hot, or could sit back and lay down feeling like you could lie there forever. It was perfect. He sighed how something so tranquil could exist at a time when no one was awake to see it. I'm glad you're up, Naruto. Can I get you something to eat? The red-eyed Jonin asked, immensely pleased her student was up. Yes, please, Naruto said weakly. Everyone was worried about you, Naruto. No one knew what was wrong. Kurenai said calmly while making breakfast. Naruto only nodded, lost in thought. After eating a large breakfast in silence, he got up. He still felt very hungry even though he had eaten 2,000 calories in one sitting, but he knew his stomach couldn't handle any more food. He then began his walk down to the place he had Zabuza. Kurenai began to open her mouth but decided not to say anything and instead watched the solemn boy limp badly down the hill they were currently using as a base. Soon he came across the broken body of Zabuza, still unmoved from where he had struggled to get to. The man lay alone, Haku having been taken by Guy earlier that morning. Naruto fell to one knee next to Zabuza. I'm sorry for Ku Zabuza, but what have you done to me? Was it your sword? Or maybe just the guilt you have caused me wrecked me to this degree? In any case, I never knew who you were, but hopefully the story of your life was what you wanted. I have to go now, but before I do I will leave you a parting gift for helping me reach another milestone on the road to becoming Hokage. Naruto slowly reached over and grabbed Zabuza's sword, then taking out a sealing scroll and forming the correct hand signs, Naruto hid the sword in the scroll. After putting the sword in his orange jacket, he stood up. Earth release, Death Tomb enshrinement. Zabuza's body was quickly sucked under the earth and vanished from existence. At the place above where Zabuza's head had been, Naruto had found the perfect size rock for a gravestone, and with a kunai set to work carving in Zabuza Momoki, demon of the mist. Kurenai was worried. Naruto had returned a few hours later and was back to his normal self. How could he be smiling and acting like his goofy self when he was in the condition he was in? She wondered, watching Naruto building a fire with Lee, who was now up as well. Kurenai just shook her head, trying to get rid of the questions bothering her. Why should I care that after Naruto lost half the muscle tissue in his body and after he killed his first ninja, he go around like nothing had happened? He's alive and that's all that matters. She nodded and decided it didn't matter. If she couldn't understand it, why should she be confused? Just let go. She fell back on her bag in her tent and watched the activity that was going on outside. Naruto and Lee were hitting each others with logs they had taken from the pile of firewood. Tenten was asking Hinata something which caused Hinata to blush brightly. While Neji sat watching the birds and Shikamaru was lazily watching the clouds slowly roll through the ever-darkening sky. Kurenai's trance was soon interrupted as shouts of "Naruto" were blazed into her skull. Quickly rising, she walked over to see Lee laying on the ground, a large bump on his head, while Naruto looked around innocently holding a broken log behind his back. Sometimes Kurenai felt more like a babysitter than a teacher of ninja that would one day go on to kill many criminals. After dinner, the group packed everything and set out to quickly pass through Wave Country. Naruto and Lee were last in the line, behind Tenten, walking over the still water to the mainland of Water Country. And being in the back, they were the last to reach the sandy coast of the mainland and also last to see the huge amount of armed men in front of them. In front of the horde stood a short man wearing all black. I don't know how a bunch of children kill Zabuza, but it doesn't matter. You will here. Men, for each one of the brats you kill, you get twice the money you were already getting. Now go. The thug's excitement increased, and with it the B-lust sword. The first man to charge strode to the shore wielding a chipped sword. He barely made it 2 feet before his legs were filled with shuriken from Tenten, Naruto, and Lee. The others sprinted to the shore thinking of the money that would be theirs. The largest man, as soon as he reached the ninjas, raised a huge club in attempt to take him out in one hit. All the ninjas jumped back except Neji, who gracefully ducked his head in a spin and gently touched the man's heart. The result was the giant staggering backwards, dripping down his chin before falling unconscious. The men looked worriedly at Neji, who had a smirk on his face to fit the craziest Hyuga. Which, as you all know, he is. There are more of you than those children and women, no less. Are you really afraid? Gato asked, disgusted that the men would stop the duty protecting his operations. The thugs lifted their weapons again but waited for the attack, not wanting to rush in only to S. For 10 seconds everyone was silent, and all that could be heard was the wind whistling against the weapons and the shuffling of feet. Then Naruto gathered his chakra. I'm not going to wait for these guys, they're gonna get their kick now. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 50 clones raised kunais towards the men and then they charged. Gato's bodyguard went wide-eyed. One man dropped his sword and ran. A domino effect started and soon many of the other men dropped their weapons and ran. What are you doing? Get back here and K. Gato screamed in desperation, but his cries only made things worse, and finally all the thugs had disappeared, leaving Gato alone with 7 shinobis. Ha, I see you've passed my test. Gato explained while lifting his hands, defensively, up in front of him. You've proven yourselves to be worthy of being my bodyguard and will each be paid handsomely. Gato continued while slowly backing away. Kurenai clenched her fist until B could be seen rolling down her fingers. She was trying to remain in control, trying to keep her composure in front of her students, but she was losing. Why do you think you can bide time with that lame excuse? You are going to S for the crimes you've committed. Kurenai spat, her face had contorted upon recognizing the man. You better not pretend you don't know that Konoha has been trying to arrest you for years. You may have had protection before, but now I will kill you. Before anyone of the genin could stop her, she had dashed over the short man and grabbed him and lifted him up by the collar. Sweat began to roll down Gato's face. Mercy please, I didn't do anything, it was those brutes. You never showed brother any mercy when your men K his group of chunin coming to arrest you. I saw the scene afterwards. I know you to torture him, and Abiki said, he said you made his group watch as you see, and now I will avenge him. Me? No, I never K anyone, it's a lie, please let me go. I'll go to prison and do my sentence, but please spare me. Gato begged, his hands clasped together in front of his face. Kurenai closed her eyes to slow the flood of tears pouring out of them and reached to her bag of weapons. Naruto's POV. Naruto stood unable to move as his teacher lifted her kunai with a trembling arm and see the tea of mobster named Gato. Kurenai-sensei, he whispered using shunshin to reach his teacher as she collapsed. I don't not know what came over me. My brother, he wouldn't have wanted this. Kurenai choked out as her tears fell onto Naruto's arm. Naruto was at a loss for what to do. Was he supposed to say something? Naruto sighed softly and hugged the older woman. The rest of the group stared in shock at the scene before them. Their teacher sat crying, her head buried in their teammate's sea while the body of a villain lay eroding on the ground. Slowly Kurenai stood up. I have to stop. It's just. Flashback. Kurenai and Asuma rushed to the site where Anbu stood talking quietly while pointing to different spots. The spots they were pointing to were, of course, spots where B had stained the ground. 3B lay very S on the ground while a third lay not very far off to the side. The fourth body was that of a girl. She was C up very badly but she would live. That's when Kurenai recognized who the girl was. She was one of the Chunin her brother had taken on his mission a few days ago. Kurenai lifted her trembling hand to her mouth. Even though she couldn't tell who the B belonged to by looking at them, she knew her brother was one of the S. Himura was S. All of a sudden she felt weak and her body began to go limp, but before she began to fall she felt an arm wrap around her and pull her into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, Asuma whispered sadly, tears rolling down his face. She opened her mouth but closed it, not being able to think. This isn't any easier for him. Himura and Asuma had been best friends since they were in the academy. My brother would not want me to be sad for him, so I will honor his memory by not trying to forget him. Kurenai hugged Asuma back and tried to maintain as much of her composure as she could. Finally, after what seemed like an hour, she released her grip and Asuma followed. Asuma quickly wiped his eyes, which caused the area around his eyes to turn red. Kurenai, on the other hand, hadn't shed a tear. She stood stoically gazing at the burnt F of the only body the correct size to be her brother. Asuma looked questioningly at his best friend's sister. He knew a shinobi must always hide his or her emotions, but still. Her brother was T. Even the best Anbu agent would shed a tear if this happened to them. Kurenai then took a deep breath and walked over to a medical Anbu agent who was finishing an autopsy on the B. Kurenai tapped the shoulder of the rising man, who turned around curious to know who was crazy enough to tap an Anbu agent on the shoulder. I was wondering if I could assist in taking my brother's body back to the village, she asked in a calm and collected voice. Of course, the man answered as if there was nothing wrong with the question, like, do you actually want to carry the blackened sea of your brother? But which one is your brother? He's the tallest one, she said, her voice cracking slightly as she reached down to stroke his charred face. End flashback. Not once on the way back did I shed a tear. I haven't cried once for him until now. Why now, when I am teaching students to lose their emotions? Kurenai immediately forced the tears current to ease and finally stop. Then she walked over to where the other genin stood, Naruto following close behind. Her face, though red, was much calmer. Are you alright, sensei? Hinata asked, saliently not stuttering. Kurenai smiled back at her student, who seemed completely angelically focused on making sure her teacher was alright. Yes, I'm fine. Kurenai paused for one last time to collect herself and her thoughts and take a breath. Now we must head to the Cloudside Dock, which is approximately 5 miles northeast from here. Alright, Naruto shouted, then we'll get to fight some more enemies and see my friends from Cloud Country. Yosh, the youthful spirit here, is returning. Lee shouted, I felt sick in the atmosphere a few minutes ag. Before Lee could finish his line, Tenten had quickly stopped him with a punch to the back of the head. Neji nodded approvingly at Tenten's decision and threw Lee over his shoulder. Shikamaru sighed, how the mood changes when you're with these people. He just began to run after the other ninjas into the heart of Wave Country. 10 minutes later, after walking awkwardly, mainly due to the considerable amount of stares they were receiving, through the town for food and in Naruto's case sending clones out to find ramen, the ninjas' luck had barely held out. All the Konoha ninja sat at a booth in the small sushi stand. This shop happened to be the only food stand in the village, On the other hand, the food was great, and the only person not eating the food was Naruto. He sat at the end of the row of chairs, his head propped up with his right arm, and his expression was K Hinata. You not know Naruto, there are other great foods besides ramen. Hinata said as nicely as she could. Naruto just scowled. Well, I'm going for a walk. Tenten just shrugged and continued eating while Neji shook his head. Of course, the reason Neji shook his head was probably more to Lee, who had fallen off the chair, his face extremely red and eyes spinning. Wow, so good, he managed to choke out. What did he eat? Kurenai asked in annoyance. He tried to eat this place's most spicy dish in one bite, to prove how youthful he was. Shikamaru replied, his head resting in his folded arms. Then with a sigh he shifted his head and blocked out the annoying ruckus that was Lee. Naruto's POV. Naruto was exploring the dirty streets and broken buildings when he heard a shout. Stop! Help me, somebody! The voice, which Naruto could tell was a woman's, was being muffled to a volume only a trained ninja could hear, and luckily Naruto heard it. Sprinting at a speed no civilian could see, he followed the muffled cries until he reached a small but well-maintained house. With a powerful kick off the ground, Naruto cleared the house and landed in front of three men who would drag away a pretty woman and trying to get her to shut up. The black-haired woman had bruised all over her face from where the men had hit her. She was conscious but barely. These bastards are the cowards who ran away from us when Gato ordered them to attack. I'll end their worthless lives. What are you doing? Naruto said. The fierceness in his voice had the ripped-like tone of skin being seen with a dull blade. The men's faces fell a bit, but they collected themselves. Hey kid, I suggest you run back home to your friends, they aren't here to protect you. The one holding the woman said while backing away slowly. I am not going to waste my time listening to you pieces of trash. Naruto said, dashing towards them. Naruto threw the first man he got to and threw him to the ground. Then with lightning speed he jerked the man's arm back till the arm's elbow rested above his head. With the man's arm sufficiently broken, he turned to the next guy, who was heavily built. The man raised his staff defensively only to watch the blonde-headed ninja disappear. He was knocked unconscious before he could realize Naruto was behind him. Finally Naruto's gaze was fixed upon the man holding the woman. Hesitantly the man let go of the beaten woman, but it was too late. Naruto kneed the man in the stomach and pulled back his arm to finish him off. Snap! Naruto's eye shot completely open and grew stiff and rigid. Slowly he released the man's en and sank next to the woman. The man, still too scared to do anything usefully like take Naruto down, slowly backed away in a sitting position before getting up, turning around and running. What's with my body? Naruto asked as his arm began to burn. He valiantly fought the urge to cry and scream out. Sending all his chakra out of his arm, Naruto was able to rise. His limp right arm dangled pathetically as he threw the woman over his shoulder and walked towards the house. Naruto opened the door to the house to see a small child in a hat poke his head out from behind a wall. Mom, he said, tears filling his eyes. He rushed to her. Mom. Naruto smiled at the kid. Hello, the blonde said half-heartedly. The boy looked suspiciously at Naruto. Thank you for saving my mom, but I'm not allowed to talk to strangers. So I'll get my grandpa. Okay, the boy asked. Naruto nodded. That would be fine. Grandpa, there's a funny-looking guy in the house. Naruto raised his good arm. What the hell, brat? How can you say that to a hero? Inari shot Naruto an angry look and Naruto just shook it off. Oh Inari, I was just finishing my discussion with my friend here. Naruto turned to see the masked man. Hello Naruto. How? Why are you here? Naruto asked, shocked and a bit nervous. I wanted to thank you for helping my son receive a minimal sentence. The older man replied in a grateful and sincere voice. What's the real reason? Naruto asked, questioned more sternly. The older ninja turned to look at Tazuna and Inari, who were busy tending to the woman's wounds. Let's take a walk, Naruto. Naruto grumbled something about his arm and walked outside following the masked shinobi. Naruto, I have a favor to ask you. But before he could continue his sentence he was off. Whoa, buddy, before you ask me any more favors I want to know your name. Naruto yelled at the man. The blonde's face contorted in his annoyance. Well Naruto, I will tell you. You should feel privileged, only 3 people know my name and you shall be the 4th. But before you learn it you must swear not to tell it to anyone without my consent. Okay, I swear I will never tell anyone you name without your consent. Naruto responded quickly, curious to find out this hidden name. My name is Adam Abudara. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the name but just shrugged it off. Alright Abudara, what do you need? There have been a growing number of ninjas who are forming a group dedicated to getting power just as powerful as the Akatsuki. Who are the Akatsuki? Naruto questioned while scratching his head. I'm surprised Jiraiya has not told you yet, but right now it doesn't matter. The reason I'm asking you this is I have been ordered by my leader to amass new members into our group, rising and powerful ninjas from all villages, and I have nominated you as one of them. So what do I have to do? Well, we're not asking you to come yet, after all you're only a genin, but we will need your help in a few years, so in the meantime we ask you to devote yourself to training. We will have a messenger come and give you info every few months. Well, I guess I'll do it if it will help me get stronger. Oh, it will, Naruto. The only thing you should be doing right now though is seeing Ryoku about your condition. Naruto looked down at his arm for a moment. I will definitely get healed. Naruto stopped, seeing Abudara had vanished. Naruto looked around for a second, then with a sigh walked back into the house. Tazuna, seeing the boy re-enter, stood from where he had been kneeling and administering medical cream to his daughter's face. Thank you very much for protecting my daughter. I am eternally indebted to you, Tazuna said, bowing slightly. Ah, it was nothing. Naruto said, grinning sheepishly. In fact, the only reason it happened is because Gato is no longer here to give them things to do. What do you mean? Tazuna asked, very confused, his emotions undulating on his face. He's after I K Zabuza, my sensei K him. Tazuna's heart skipped a beat. So Wave Country is free. Well, if you mean no more gangsters, then yeah. Tazuna leapt in the air. Thank you so much. I don't believe I caught your name before. The name is Uzumaki, Naruto, the blonde said, readjusting the headband given to him the day of the mission by Tsunade. On the headband were two symbols, the leaf symbol and the cloud symbol. I am so glad you have saved us, Naruto. Because of you I can finish my bridge that will connect Wave Country with the mainland. Why were you building a bridge? Naruto asked curiously. To improve the economy by bringing in traders and tourists, of course. Replied the gray-haired man. With this bridge the wealth of our village will increase exponentially. Naruto sat there taking in the importance of the bridge. Naruto, we should hold a celebration for you and the other ninjas. Tazuna yelled happily, causing Inari to smile. Then in a subtle motion Tazuna moved next to the blonde and whispered in his ear, covering his mouth so Inari couldn't hear. You Naruto, at celebrations the size we'd have, everyone gets drunk. And you know what happens when everyone gets drunk? He whispered mischievously. Naruto could only shake his head. Tazuna was acting like a drunken teenager in his glee. Tazuna laughed again. You get laid. Naruto blushed bright red at the comment. Lifting his left arm up, Naruto gave Tazuna 2 seconds to stop laughing. When he didn't, Naruto s his fist into Tazuna's head, while the man was bent over laughing. Naruto sighed at the figure of the man still laughing on the floor. Well, old man, I'm on a mission right now, so a celebration is out of the question. In fact, I have to go now, but do you think you could advise me on which ferry to take to the village hidden in the clouds? Tazuna's outrageous laughter slowly was subsiding as he stood up and walked into another room. Naruto, who wasn't sure to wait or follow, hesitated long enough for Tazuna to return, pencil and paper in hand. Here, Tazuna said, writing down a message on the paper carefully so they could be sure to read it. Give this to Raiden, Tsutomi. Be sure to ask for him at the dock only 7 kilometers north of here. He is well known, so you should not have trouble finding him. Naruto raised his good arm to take the paper, but as he grabbed it, Tazuna held it still, both their hands on the ticket to the village hidden in the clouds. Naruto looked up at the old man, who had a serious look on his face. Naruto, this village will never be able to repay you for the good you've done to help this village. Please remember that. Naruto nodded at the man. Naruto then turned and began to walk off. Naruto turned around about 200 feet away from the house and waved goodbye to both Tazuna and Inari, who was hugging his grandfather. Naruto turned around after seeing the relatives wave back. Oh, and Naruto, Tazuna yelled out. We don't need you to have a celebration. Naruto chuckled at the old man and right before he was out of hearing range shouted back. True, you don't need me to have a party, but you do need me to have a good party. Naruto grinned his foxy grin and waved to a few villagers who were staring at him. After a delayed reaction, they nodded back before continuing on with their labor. He saw his teammates as soon as he entered the town's main plaza. Hey, Hinata, Shikamaru over here. Naruto called out, spotting his friends walking towards him. Naruto-kun, where were you? Hinata asked, too curious to be nervous. Ah, nowhere, Naruto replied, grinning at what he thought was a smart reply. Dobe, Neji muttered, shaking his head before turning around and heading towards the docks. Guess what, guys? I found a guy who gave me a ticket to Lighting Country. Naruto grinned, holding up the paper Tazuna had given him. Shikamaru smirked. This was too good a chance to give up to laziness. How'd you get that paper if you didn't go anywhere, Naruto? He questioned, his left eyebrow raised, faking suspicion. Ah, well, you see, Naruto said, scratching his head. Both Tenten and Hinata giggled at the bewildered blonde. Naruto gritted his teeth in annoyance. Shikamaru always being so smart, he muttered to himself under his breath. Unfortunately for him, it was loud enough for the rest of the group to hear, and they began laughing even louder. Now what's with all this commotion? Kurenai asked, appearing in a cloud of smoke. Naruto, not waiting for anyone to embarrass him further, handed Kurenai the piece of folded paper. I saved a woman from being raped, and in return her father rewarded me by giving me this and telling me to find a man named Aiden, Tsutomi, and Tsutomi will take us to Lighting Country. All of the group just looked at Naruto in silence for a few moments before Lee finally spoke up. Naruto, your flames of youth burn so brightly not even the wettest of waters could quench your flame. Thanks, Lee, Naruto said, acknowledging the remark for the sincere compliment it was. Tenten nodded hesitantly at first before giving Naruto a question glance. Who is this guy? Not bad, Naruto, Shikamaru said, clasping his arm respectfully. But it was Naruto's hurt arm. Naruto cringed slightly before watching everything start to spin. Shikamaru pulled Naruto back up from mid-fall, and with a sigh pulled Naruto's good arm around his shoulder and let Naruto's rest his weight on him. Sorry, Naruto, Shikamaru thought, I didn't think your arm was that damaged. The lazy ninja looked at Naruto's hanging head. Inside Naruto slowly got to his feet. Where am I? He wondered as he looked at the floor, which was covered by a thin layer, some sort of green liquid. Staggering down the hall, he encountered an open door. Naruto knew that behind this door lay the demon that spawned the village's hatred. Naruto also knew it was the only way to get an answer to why he was in so much pain. Kit, you must see your sensei quickly. The Kyuubi bellowed as soon as Naruto walked in the room. What? The hell? Naruto shouted as he looked at the demon behind the bars of its cage. Inside the cage was no longer a dark, black abyss, but a world teeming with life. Naruto looked at the forest. The Kyuubi sat calmly on the ground, a couple of foxes playing in front of his giant frame. The foxes were the same size as regular foxes, but with one important difference: each fox had more than one tail. Naruto gulped, remembering the time Ryoku had created a world using chakra. It wasn't just a place with a little vegetation, but a world as big as the one they were in. In the distance, houses sat on the smoke rolling from the chimneys. Kit, I will talk to you another time, but remember, go to your sensei, your affliction is getting worse. Naruto nodded slowly, beginning to feel dizzy, and he closed his eyes. When he woke up, he was flying across the ground. The blonde weakly tilted his head in the direction of his carrier. Hey, Shikamaru, Naruto said with a small pained grin. Shikamaru grinned at his friend. Man, and Chuji asked you to protect me, huh? Naruto sent Shikamaru a questioning look. How? I know my friends, Naruto. He replied in a tired tone. Hey guys, Lee shouted from up ahead of Shikamaru and the weary Naruto. I see the port. Naruto closed his eyes and began to embrace himself in chakra, slowly easing the pain until the sharp sting was only a slight throb asking for attention. Alright everyone, this seems to be the place, Kurenai said, looking at the bustling town, much livelier than the southeastern coast where Tazuna had been the only reasonably friendly person. Okay everyone, stick together. I don't want to have to look for those who don't find the right ship when everyone else has got it. Yes sensei. The genin chorused. Alright, now where should we start? Biggest to smallest, Naruto said quite energetically for someone who had regained consciousness 5 minutes ago. I disagree, Naruto, Lee replied calmly. The most youthful things are not always the biggest. Therefore I vote we go from the smallest to largest ships. Neji smirked. You idiots are arguing over the order of which ships to look. He shook his head. Kurenai just put her hand to her head and counted to 10. Surprisingly, she felt a little better. Alright, we're going to go small. Naruto, in a brilliant display of tactics, see her off. Ah, sensei, I could created a dozen or so clones to check the ships. Well, Naruto, I don't think it would be wise in your condition. Kurenai replied hesitantly. Sensei, I'm hurt physically, I'm not out of chakra. He replied. Kurenai sent Hinata a quick questioning glance. Hinata quietly turned on her Byakugan and then, after a few seconds of closely examining the deterioration of Naruto's arm, turned back to Kurenai and nodded. Then she quietly turned her Byakugan, letting out a sigh of relief that no one had noticed. Alright Naruto, go ahead and make it quick. We only have 3 days if we want to make it to Lighting Country on schedule. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto yelled while 15 clones popped into existence and immediately dashed towards the boats. As soon as the clones were completely gone from sight, Naruto sat down, his leg forming a pretzel in the dirt of the street. Whoa, that winded me more than I thought, he said, stopping his head from falling to the ground while struggling to stay awake. Shikamaru sighed before walking to the side of the road and lying down on a bench. He looked up at the clouds as a content look settled on his face. Man, it would be troublesome, but if I learned that technique I could look at the clouds all day. After 5 minutes, Kurenai was growing impatient when a blonde-headed ninja ran into her. Sorry sensei, the clone said, pulling Kurenai to her feet. We found the ship. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.